Hi everyone, it's Chelle from Chelle Crochet. Welcome to my September 2025 crochet podcast. Let's talk about all the blankets. Hi everyone, it's Chelle. How are you today? I hope you're all doing well. It's been a while since we've checked in this format and I have missed it. I'm glad to be back. I hope you guys enjoyed the vlogs. Please let me know in the comment section below which you prefer. Honestly, it's easier to do the vlogging than it is to set up for a podcast, but I like talking to you in both ways. So without further ado, let's go back to the beginning of the month and see some of what we accomplished. Here she is, all put together. So hard to get her on camera. All right, can you guys see the error? Can you see the assembly required mistake? Well, there is one. Darn it, darn it. I had several different ideas of how to assemble the blocks in terms of, I'll give you a big hint, the direction they're pointing in. And I made a mistake when I sewed it together with one and I didn't notice till after I put the border on. And I wasn't about to fix it. So we're gonna call that some creative flair. There, that's a good word, creative flair. As you know, this is a charity blanket. And I'd be hardly surprised if, I don't know, I give it about 50-50 if people will notice. But generally, I'm pretty happy with it. And she's done. She's beautiful. She has not been blocked even in the dryer. So I was able to recover from some of the natural wonkiness you get from corner to corner. I'm going to stop trying to get the whole blanket on camera and give you one panel at a time. Just by doing the border, I do find I need to remove some stitches. So I'm not adding like a traditional corner in the corners as I go around in my initial rows. When I first do the chains onto the actual squares, I only put a chain in the corner, a single crochet. I don't add any extra stitches there. And then when I'm coming around for the first row of block stitch is what it ends up being, or modern granny stitch, if you will. I only put one double crochet in each corner, so double crochet, chain 2, double crochet like that. So you do have to fudge it a bit because your next round, your corner will be off a little bit, but you just fudge it because it's too many stitches, I find, if you put them all in there in the beginning. And then in order to make it really sort of structure for the actual border of the whole blanket, I just go down hook size. So I went all the way down to a 6mm. And keep it nice and tight, and it works out. And I play with what I do in my like little join areas, what's needed, and it'll probably grow by another 1/2 inch all the way around in the dryer. And yeah, I'm very happy with it. I just wish I had not sewn this square on in the wrong direction. The blue should be pointing this way. Originally, I was thinking of having the dark colors pointing in, and I changed my mind about that, but that was long before I actually sewed it together. So anyway, she's still really pretty. And I'm happy with her. See, when you put them together afterwards, you see things you could have done differently. I might have switched this square and that square because those two blues are together. But gorgeous. And we'll keep someone extra cozy. So that is a whole bunch of Bernat Pop. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. And so it begins. We are plotting out squares. This template is just for where the squares go. There's a couple colors that are not accurate on there, but that's fine. That's the first row, first draft of first row. And I just have to move it up so I can make sure I can get all my 7 rows in here. And then I got to take a lot of pictures so I can do the assembly required stage. This is my very first draft with all the squares. So now I'm gonna go back over them and check if I have like too many that look too similar together, if I haven't mixed up my border colors enough because they are slightly different. But I'm pretty confident that the solid squares are gonna stay put where they are right now. So hard to get them all in on my phone from this angle. Anyway, there they are. Barring any gathering errors, this is pretty much how it's gonna be. Present day Chelle here, popping in to let you know you're gonna see how I gathered them all up and secure them in their order. They ended up sitting in their project bag for a little while, and then I put them all out again because I was questioning the solids. I really wanted that black square in the middle, and that's how she ended up. So now I have my 5 sets of 7, and I have my little guide to go by. I did make like 2 square switches after the last video clip I took, but we're set now. And what I'm gonna do is gonna take a little piece of yarn and put it through the corner of these and tie it so that I can't lose my order. And so we kind of have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I just got to put them together in the right order afterwards. So I have to put something on there to remind me of the order. So maybe stitch markers, like I can put 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stitch markers on them to get the order right. Hopefully everything goes all right. This can be the tricky part. So I just trimmed a piece of yarn and got some scrap paper out and numbered the scrap paper, fed the yarn through the scrap paper, tied it so it won't come off even if the string comes out. And then I weaved the yarn through the corners of all of the squares for each row and tied a little bow to keep them in order. Yay! This is organized chaos. I have put her together. Today is Thursday, September 11th, and I can't fit her on camera, but she is put together. I had some of this stashed for a while from Spinrite, and I had it with the scrap gan stuff, so stash gan, scrap gan yarns, and she helped me crochet these together. So you're seeing the front. The back has the single crochet ridges. And before I do the ends, I am going to get some border on this. I'm trying to give you the best view possible. Yeah, so we'll get some border going. Right now she's measuring 46 wide by 66 long, and that is without being in the dryer to relax and without the border. So we're in good shape for a teen blanket for Project Linus. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. So as we're chatting here, I'm gonna post a little video side by side so you can see that blanket laid out. I just took that clip this morning, and there's no way you can see it to its full extent here on the camera, but I'm happy with that. I think this one's gonna end up being child to tween size. It's not as big as I was hoping to get it, but again, I told you a couple months ago, I was just tired of making those blocks. And you know, it's for charity, and I'm happy to make things for charity, but it's still important that I'm having fun when I'm making things. So it was good to call it there, and it'll go off in the middle of October with the other blankets I'm gonna be able to bring. I did some math on the Bernat Pops, and if you remember, in April of this year is when we first started working with the Bernat Pop cakes, and I'll pop a picture up here of the first blanket, which was a straight back and forth block stitch style, corner to corner stitch, but straight blanket, and that's when I dug them all out. And I have done some math, and I believe I ended up having 26 cakes to work with. And I'm gonna pop some information in the description box below this video so you can see where we started. And I did some math, so I know how much it is in grams and ounces, as well as meters and yards. And with those 26 cakes, I know they're 140 grams and 5 ounces each. I was able to make 3 blankets, 2 of which are 50 by 70 plus, and then this one here, which is probably about 40 by 60 plus, as well as some cozies that you're going to see a little later on that are all made from scraps. And it was quite a bit of products that came out of those cakes, and it's all going to go to very worthy causes, both the Project Linus charity and the Shoebox charity. So that was number 1, if you will, and here is number 2. Same thing, I'm going to put the video on the screen. The border is probably the one thing I will try to show you up close. So it's really lying nicely. When I fold it up, all the corners are matching up well. It hasn't been in the dryer yet, neither has that one. So we will just get about another inch probably all the way around on both blankets once it has been relaxed in the dryer. I'm super happy with both of them. And this one I did a bunch more border. I don't think I said specifically. So we got 2 extra rows in that blue premium, Bernat premium cake I found. When I had the label, it said E-T-H-E-R and that's it, and then blue. But I found, because I was looking for the name of it without the label, it was actually ethereal blue, and I guess it got cut off. So that was this colorway from years ago. And then I just threw on some, I had a monster cake. I have a Monster Ball Skein huge, the 1,000 gram type in this lilac. So I threw a bunch of that on just to give it something different around the edge. There's a lot of purples in this blanket anyway, so I thought it complemented it nicely. It's a very light purple, very light. I think it's actually called soft lilac. It's old from Spin Right, but it tends to photograph pinkish on camera. So hopefully you're getting a decent shot of it now. But this guy's also done, and the meetup, I think I've said a couple times, is in the middle of October. So some of these projects need to get in the dryer sooner than later so they can get off to Project Linus, because I figured I'd just save them a trip and drop them off that way. I also want to have the last couple months of the year to myself to do with what I want. So I also reached out to the ladies that coordinate the shoebox charity, and I'm going to be dropping off all the cozy stuff by the end of October to give me November and December to do what I want with. Doesn't mean I won't work on charity stuff for next year. It just means there won't be any pressure, anything hanging over my head for those couple months, which will be really nice. So let's stick to what else came from the Bernat Pop. I did a little bit of math, and I think in the course of this video, because I don't really have clips of many of these at all, I think maybe one, I think I did 14 hats in the month of September. Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, September 24th, and I have another finished object. This was a hat, my traditional spiral beanie. I start with singles, go to half doubles, and then doubles, so I don't have to have a seam. And then I eventually come down. This one I actually did the whole row way, where I finish my doubles. I do a half double row, a single row, and then I slip stitch to join. I ran out of the latte I was using up here, and I tried a couple of the colors. I didn't like how it looked. If I do my brim in a single yarn instead of 2 yarns held together, I just like putting one double and then 2 doubles in each initial stitch across and a much smaller hook. And then I come back down and do my post stitches like normal. And I thought that that looked the best for this hat. This is long discontinued, I believe, but I have more. So this one I will be able to use another latte. I think I might use that one and do some yellow and orange together. And we will see what happens next. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. I guess I should have done the scarf first, but now that we're talking about hats, we'll stick to it. When I started the scarf, one of the things I started at the exact same time was this hat, because I had such tiny scraps that I just did that center, and then I worked from there. And I think there might have been a clip of this hat in last month's video, or a different, yeah, I think I already did a clip of this hat. So this is because it was from Bernat Pop, okay, one. And then there was a decent amount of the blues left after I was finished with everything I was doing. So another one here. So you're seeing these are granny stitch hats. I should tell you. I like sitting down and freeform crocheting. I don't like having to pull out a pattern or a tutorial. Sometimes I like to, but most of the time I just like to sit down and make something. So for these, I start them in a variety of ways. This one I started it in the round. So I'll do like a couple of double crochets with a chain, and then I'll work my way up to 3, and then I'll increase again. I just throw the stitches in where they're going to be even, and I don't think too much about them, and they always end up being a hat. They might look a little different, but trust me, they always work out. And then I think because I was using up the pop scraps, I got on a bit of a kick of using granny stitch for them to have a different hat to be making. So this one's more of a beanie. There wasn't enough to do post stitches at the bottom, but it's still ample. A little bit too warm in here for hats today. It is cooling down a little bit. I think today we're going to get to a high of like 22 or 23 Celsius, and then we're going to have a couple cool days, but it's going right back up to 26 Celsius on the weekend. And then there's this one. This one might have actually been a gray square that I turned down into a hat after. You got post stitches at the bottom on that one. And then this is a really scrappy one. The square was bigger than it needed to be, but I still pulled it down. And basically when they're bigger than they need to be on top, they just make nice slouchy hats. And we'll go from there. There is a few pictures of me that I'll pop in either at the beginning, the end, in between where I'm wearing some of the hats. So you'll get to see them that way. So those were made sort of mid-month probably. Good morning, everyone. Today is Sunday, September the 7th, and we are going through some of the things I've been able to accomplish so far in September, including my scrappy C2C scarf. Let's have a look. Cool! I even like how it did that. All right, let's gather her back up. So I had cleared this area out for a bunch of blanket clips you're also going to see. So I thought I'd just show it here on the floor because it's big. So there she is. And it's pretty much all scraps. No, it's not pretty much all scraps. It is all scraps. It's all scraps from what was going into both the grind square blanket and the C2C blanket. So this was a 6.5 millimeter hook, and I increased to, it's actually this side I started on. I increased to 11 blocks, which is plenty wide enough. And I don't like putting a border on a scrappy scarf like this because I want all the edges to show. And it's maintaining its shape very nicely. It has to go in the dryer to get softened up a little bit. But other than that, she is all done. And this had got me through some stressful Blue Jays and Yankees baseball. So many ends. Be warned, be warned. There are a lot of single stripes, a lot of double stripes, some triples and some quadruples, but there are a lot of ends because of how I was doing it. And then I guess this is the last Bernat Pop thing. You did get a good view of this on video, so let's have a look of it on me. Even though I'm not all in the camera, you can still see it. Here she is. Basically, as I'm sitting in this chair, it's just covering my knee. So it's wide, so it'll keep someone good and cozy. And as long as they pull it up around their neck, they're gonna get a good, coverage with it, however they like to do it. This desperately needs to go in the dryer to relax, which will be no problem when hubby does all this stuff for me. And then that is my pile of Bernat Pop. Well, we might as well finish off hats, right? So I tend to have like a little basket with scraps in it beside me where I'm crocheting. I made another cat hat. It pooled really strangely, and I guess it's mostly because the dark color shows more that it looks so strange. Kind of looks like it has ears. Too bad they aren't going in opposite directions. So this has got the tail end of some loops and threads variegated, some different white. There's two different whites in here that are slightly different colors, you can tell. And there's a little bit of, what were those called? And then some really older scraps of some Premier cakes that I had. Just to make one of those cat hats. You can see that it's shaped, I shaped it myself because it's the type I start like a bag. So I started up here, just do a couple of rows to make it come around and go down and then work in the round. So no seam that way, and just a little bit of post-it just to finish off the yarn. It should sit really nicely on someone. Again, too warm for me to stick it on. I'm already melting in here. And then I have some, I think it's Bernat Softy Chunky. It's again from Spin Right from a long time ago, and I still have more, so you'll probably see more of these hats next month because it works up really fast because it's a size 6, and you can see my traditional spiral beanie there, from single to half double to double and back into regular rounds to do post stitches, double crochets, probably a 9 millimeter hook with these, and this one's more of a beanie. So the first one's a bit slouchy. And I think I said about 14 hats I made. What are the older ones? Okay, here's the one you saw on the clip, or you're gonna see on the clip, depending the order I do it in. So this one is Premier Anti-Pilling Everyday Metally, and I just had the one skein of the orange. That yarn is discontinued and held with the last bit of that roasted tomato latte I had from a couple months back. And then I started into a silver and gold toned latte. The bigger project you'll see later was with the golds, and this one is some of the gray. It's not lattes, they're Karen Colorama halos. And honestly, I like the latte a little bit better. I feel like the latte is more substantial when you're holding it double with something for some reason. Now this gives great fuzz, but it doesn't make it immediately feel squishier the way the latte does. And this one is just, so I started working with some of those Dollarama cakes, and they are a little thick to thin. They're not really a size 4, they're more of a size 3 or thinner. So some of them had complementary tones to this colorway of the Premier Anti-Pilling, I think it's called Beach, because I've made a few things with that this month because I had a few of those skeins. I still do, I think. So it's held double, and it's just not latte'd. And then at the very, very bottom, I pulled in a little bit of sparkle just to finish out that last round and give it a nice finish. But that's very pretty too, and it's nice and squishy, those two yarns together. What I did was I swatched that Dollarama yarn because it says not to dry it, and I washed and dried it I told Chris to like put it on warm heat, and it was just absolutely fine in the dryer. I suggest you do your own test though, and don't just trust my results because everybody's equipment can be different. And then recently I finished off, I know I have a picture of the ball band of this, maybe with the yarn, maybe without. I finished off a whole skein of this, I always want to call it the wrong thing, Barcelona, I think. So this is old, and this is kind of loops and threads version of puzzle yarn. I don't think it's quite as nice as puzzle yarn. It's a little bit rougher, I think, than puzzle yarn, because I do have both. I'm almost out of both, actually. This is probably it for the loops and threads version, but I think I do have 1 or 2 more puzzles yarns put away in my size 5 storage bag. But yeah, this one I started in the round as well. I like doing V-stitches when I'm going to start the crown a little different, because when you work into them coming back around, you can work into that chain and you don't get a seam that way as well. And then I brought this one down single, half, double, double, and then worked in the spiral for a bit. And then I did my post stitches at the bottom. I just love these marled yarns that change color on their own. The only thing that is a downside, and I don't normally change direction in hats anyway, but I do prefer to flip my work when I'm doing most projects. I don't do it for the hats because of working in the round for no seam. All right, so that's number 1 of those. And then there's number 2, which is more of a beanie, but it has post stitches at the bottom. And then this last one, I had to pull out some of my Bernat Premium in like a royal blue color just to finish it off. It was also with the Scrap Game project. So I just grabbed it, and I think that's pretty together. Nice and solid at the bottom. So 14 hats in the month of September. 2 thumbs up. Happy about that. Let's have a look at the scrap can. Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, September the 10th, and I'm working on my stash can. Scraps and stash yarns only. So you can probably make out the mint that is right here. That is where we left off. So it's gotten some gray, and then I extended it to make it a little longer than it is wide. It was a little too similar for me. So it got 4 different stripes. Get nice and close there. It's like a denim-y purple, the pink, the yellow, and then the green on both ends. And then it got the navy for 3 rounds. So she's looking pretty good. This really needs to get nice and relaxed in the dryer so that it's, you know, it lays a little nicer than it's laying right now. It folds up perfectly in half and half again, and the corners match up. So we're in good shape. And it kind of almost looks like a cassette tape in the middle, but I started with those little tiny remnants of all-in-one granny square yarn back in the beginning. So we'll see. Right now I'm doing kind of 3 stripes, 2 stripes, and single stripes. I might go to 4 just because the bigger a project gets, the smaller the stripes tend to look. But I'm happy with it right now. And, you know, I would like to get this finished in September as well, so it can go off to Project Linus. We're doing a meetup in the middle of October, so I'm happy to be able to bring all the blankets that day that I have completed. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. So I know how the month of October is going to work. I need to finish off any blanket projects that I can by the 14th. So it's going to be that scrap can. I have done, I think, 3 more rounds since what you saw. So you can wait and see that next time. And then I've got a new blanket project that's just started. I did spend quite a bit of time planning it. So I talked about wanting to get through some of my Care and Simply Soft, and I am going to be successful in doing that. And I think I finally have a sort of color scheme that I like, because I was trying to put them all together and the colors are fine, but the tones of the colors are making it difficult to put them all together. So I'm working around that. I also was able to pull in my last 3 Premier anti-pilling the bobbins. Some of them are going into this new blanket project, and some of them you're going to see in a sec. And because I've pulled out some of the Care and Simply Soft, I'm going to start strategizing to make a couple of what you're going to see next with those as well. So by the end of October, the last 2 weeks of October, I can focus again on shoebox stuff, which will be scarves and hats. I think I have enough headbands, so that's kind of where I'm going to leave off for cozy sets. This year it's intentionally not sets, it's individual items, because they felt that they could give people something homemade, give more people something homemade, and that they would fit better in the boxes if it was individual items. She said she'd make it work regardless. So like someone might get like a hooded scarf or a hooded cowl, someone might get a headband, but she's fine with that because she wants to spread it around, I guess. Okay, so I think I have a couple clips for you to see of neck projects. Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, September 22nd. Another scrappy project on the go here. And I'm at a decision point because I've used up all these scraps, and the only other shawl in the ball I have access to right now is the sparkly kind. Oh, an airplane is going by. There goes the plane. And now it's raining hard. So I will keep this one short and sweet. I hopefully can figure out if there's any more shawl in the ball I have access to downstairs that is not sparkly. And then we will go for there on this one. Shallow shawl, 7mm hook, double crochets for nice big open stitches, 1 row of open work so far, and it is more than the width of the ottoman. It's hanging down by about 3 inches on both sides. Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, September the 23rd, and we have another finished object. The blankets haven't been moving too quickly. So I still have my scrap can and the new blanket I started on my hooks. They haven't been getting much love as it warmed up again here, but I've been able to make a few smaller things, and this scrappy scarf is one of them. So this is shawl in a ball. I showed you a clip already, I believe. So from the very top here is the scraps. So it's a nice dark winey tone here, and you can see the colors kind of come in and out. That's normal in shawl in a ball. And then we have the darker oranges, the golds, and the yellows. And then I had to attach something new. I had this ball that has these purples and grays in it. If I have the name, I'll put it on the screen. So that's how I decided to finish her off. That's how she's looking. So I did a couple rows of open work, only like literally 2, I think, 2 or 3. And then at the edge, I just did some of these little single crochet chain 1, 3 double crochets, pull it across 2 stitches, and made my border that way. Looks beautiful. This will be another one to go in the shoebox charity for 2025. Hello, everyone. September is winding down, and I'm probably going to be recording the podcast on the very last day of the month, so it's going to be a bit of a whirlwind day. I have another finished object. I just made another V-stitch cowl for the shoebox charity, and I was using some very old gold acrylic yarn, probably Super Saver, but it actually came in a grab bag from Cambridge Fibers, Love Tangled yarn. This yarn was like a mill end type yarn, but it was in a tangled bag, so it really had like anywhere from a 3 to a 4 weight, and it was Super Saver at best type yarn. So I made it work with a Karen Colorama Halo cake, and that cake was called Silver to Gold, so it has gray and then all the different yellows in it. So I brought the lighter yellow in at the top again to bring the neckline up a little bit, but the fade is actually there. So you can see it gets lighter as it goes. The sunlight is making the halo look a lot lighter than it actually is. So you'll probably see a picture or two, but that is done double stranded with a 9mm hook, and mostly just some singles, some half doubles, all those V-stitches. And then at the very top, I did that little 2-stitch thing where you put a single and then a double and it pops out for you a little bit. So that one is done. And my current whip is more of that Colorama halo. And I'm making a hat, as you can see. More of that Colorama halo. I'm holding it double with some Premier Anti-Pilling. That yarn I grabbed at Dollarama years ago. I think it was $4 a skein. So we are coming along. We got another row or two to do before I start doing my brim. And that should probably wrap up September. So we will send this over to the podcast now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Let's talk about the ones that were not in clips first. So this is the marled colorway from both of the Premier bobbins I have, and I've set aside the solid of the dark and the light colors for the blanket project. So this is just held double from 2 different bobbins, the marled 2-tone, and I'll put it on for you. Here, I'll put one on. So my idea is that it's long enough that it's just a nice scarf that they can tuck under their coat this way, and it hangs down in front, nice and loosey-goosey, not gonna like make you feel too confined, but it can also go over your head and be cowled. So perfect, just like that. And I know now that those 2 colors got me that, plus there's measurements on the band. So with the Simply Soft that I plan to do a few more scarves with, I know I have plenty of yarn to do these with. So this one is not an infinity scarf, it's a regular scarf. And I used up the 2 individual colors in the middle, held double. So this middle section is held double. The edges are the marled yarn that's in that bobbin, single. So I just changed my stitch count, and I've said this a couple of times. I think I say it in the clip about that one hat. I don't mind going from double stranded to single stranded. I just modify my stitch count. Depends on how much space you have. In this one, because it's such a big hook for the held double, I was able to get 2 stitches in every single stitch all the way across. And then I came back with some tighter stitches to give this a little bit more structure. And this one's nice and long. So, okay, so here we are, half and then half again. Once, and then it's double that, right? So for putting it on, so if this one, if you want to hang it all the way down, have it even, you can go around one way and then go around the other way and then cowl it. And there's still plenty here. So this will be nice and warm for somebody. There's a variety of different ways to wear it and put it on. Hopefully not when it's 22 degrees. Anyway, I was really happy to get these yarns used up and out of stash. So Crystal gave me those bobbins several years ago. I think maybe 2021. And we are successfully a bobbin-free household. And I'm really happy that they've gone to charity projects, and I know Crystal would be as well. So I think I have, oh no, I did the clips already, right? I showed you them. So here's that other portion of the latte. And you heard about the other yarn, which was from Cambridge Fibers. And I'm not going to put this one on because it's double stranded and it's thick and warm. But you can see a little better on the video than you could when I took the clip of how the yarn started a lot darker in the latte and then went to light. And I pulled some of the light up to the top as well. This is super warm and it's going to get a nice bit softer once it goes in the dryer. And it hangs up nicely. I did a little open stitch at the bottom here to make it sure it doesn't like pop up over the face. And that is that one. I think it was a 9mm hook for that one. And then you also saw this little guy. This was a complete whim. I just saw them sitting there in a scrap bag, and I thought the fall colors were really nice after I made something else you haven't seen a clip of yet. So I grabbed them, and then I had to make a decision like you heard, so I'm happy with the decision. It's great. It's so drapey. So easy to put them on when they're like this. Here's my 2 ends, no effort at all. That's the best, for me, that's the best. When you get it to just hang like that the first try, That's how I like them to be. And then because you can cozy into this as much as you like, right? This is basically acrylic cotton blend, so it's still warm. Super pretty, and the purple and gray ended up going great with it. So maybe I invented a new colorway. Okay, so then there was tiny scraps left, of course. So we have, I actually started with this one. And for these tiny little bags, these are V-stitch bags. Just how you normally start a bag, like a chain of however many you want, a couple increases at each end so that you can start going into the round and have it turn into a sack. I put a couple of little beads on the bottom. I did some half double crochets at the top so I could weave through the little drawstring there. There's some pictures I'll pop up as well. And then this one is all the rest of the scraps. I made it a little bigger to make sure that I would get through them all. And now all the little scraps I had of all those colors of leftover shawl in the ball and what I started with to finish the shawl are done. There's lots more of that shawl in the ball in that, I think it was Mindful Mauve. And then I have one that's got sparkle in it. And then I also have one that's just grays and almost blacks, grays to charcoals, very similar to that Bernat Pop cake actually. And then the last two little cozy things were two headbands, and it's funny because I had no idea they were the same color. So I guess because I ended up grabbing a skein of that anti-pilling beach twice. Once I was making the hat where I held it double with the Dollarama yarn, and then the other time with the latte cake. So this is the first headband I made, and I used the same yarn just to trim it. So this is the one that I was doing in that brick stitch idea, back and forth, or modern granny idea. And the elastic at the back, you guys have seen these on and off all year long. So these are going to the shoebox charity. And this one, I trimmed it with a tiny little sparkle scrap I had. It was the same sparkle I used at the base of that other hat. It's a brown sparkle. I think it might have been like a Karen Simply Soft Party or something like that. Anyway, so two headbands. This one I just did in double crochets. Started with some singles and half doubles and just did the whole thing in double crochets to let the yarn pattern shine. Okay, that's it for cozy stuff for September. And then we have one more clip. Have a look. Good morning, everyone. Today is Sunday, September the 21st, and I have another finished object for you here. I made a new mandala. I was gifted this Hobby Lobby. I love this cotton yarn. Here you go. And it's the print version, so it's 85 grams. And I made a mandala for my Lazy Susan here, and this is how it would finish. I have sewn in my end and haven't done anything else, so you can see it's a little bit whatever. It's pretty flat, but it hasn't been blocked at all. So all I'm going to do is take my vinegar water that I make to clean around my house, which is maybe a 1 to 5 ratio of vinegar and water, so not very much vinegar. And then I'm just going to pat it. I didn't put enough, one sec. So I have you perched, so hopefully this works out that you can still see my hands. And I'm just going to flatten her down a little bit. I wouldn't even mind slightly rolling her over. And I will leave her on this Lazy Susan back on the table to dry for the rest of the day. But that is it for right now. And then I will get my husband to bring it up wet the first time it's laundered, and then I may actually block it because it'll probably grow by a good couple inches if I do that. But the goal for this project was just to use up the entire skein, which I did. This is how much I had left. Just enough to make this tiny little thing here, which obviously I'll need more yarn to turn into anything. But she turned out really pretty. 6mm hook you can see over there. And there is the label again. But I'll zoom you in. There's the center. This is just free form. I did a lot of open work to make sure I would have enough yarn. And the yarn is just too pretty. It just screamed fall to me, so I wanted to use it all in one project. So that will go back over onto my table, right there on top of that gray kind of coaster for the bottom of the Lazy Susan. And it will dry for the rest of today. Just before I put it away, I wanted to lay it on the ottoman so you could see the open work a little bit better, because the Lazy Susan is a very similar color to the yellow. So there is a better view, keeping it all in camera, of the open work. So I think I told you that someone had reached out to me because I had the Bernat Pop cake in a certain color way, and the person needed it because they were already doing an existing project, and that's a discontinued colorway. So we ended up meeting up, I think in July, and we did basically a swap. So I got an additional color of Bernat Pop from her that I didn't have any of, and that color made its way into that blanket, the granny square blanket, and probably the C2C scrappy scarf as well. And then she ended up bringing me that skein of I Love This Cotton, and another little skein. She said she knew from my videos that I like the cotton, so that was a nice surprise. I brought her a cotton crocheted bag I had made, so I brought the yarn in, so that was fun. It was nice to meet her. We live fairly close by each other, so we'll probably meet up again sometime in the future, and we've been talking over email and sharing our project photos. Anyway, so that's where the yarn for the mandala came from. And I was decorating. I'm going to put a picture here up of my glass table. We moved some furniture around in the living room. I had the opportunity to donate some old furniture to my niece's work, and we were happy to do that. So there's less furniture in my living room right now, but the couch is finally facing the TV, which is ideal. And the table's in a bit of a different position, but you can see that I have a nice fall tray that my mom actually gave me for my birthday. And when I saw the colors of that yarn when I first got it from her, I'm like, this screams something autumn, but I don't know what I want to make with it. So it sat for a good couple months. And then one day, I think on a weekend, a couple weeks back, I just made the mandala. And I was just happy to use all of it in one project because it's so pretty. And it just complements everything else that's on that table and around the room. I do have all my pumpkins out now. I have gone to fall, heavy fall, let's call it, because there's a lot of crocheted pumpkins I've made over the years, and not to Halloween. So we're going to wait till after Thanksgiving and get all the Halloween stuff out, I think. Anyway, that was fun. One last thing behind me you can see, I did get a skein of that all-in-one quilt yarn, and I have made one of them up. It's right here. You guys know that compared to a lot of people, I'm a pretty big fan of the all-in-one granny square. It works fine for me. It is the type of yarn where you have to sit there and get your tension down the way you want it to be. For me, I use either a 7 and most of the time now a 6.5 millimeter hook to get the regular granny squares to work. No problem, but it is easier if you sit and do a whole bunch of them at the same time, because there can be a little bit of a variance in each of the color sequences of how you want the tension to be in them. For this one, I didn't really find any tutorials that were really laying this out too much other than just talking about it. I think you're supposed to make a traditional C2C 6 chains and then working your 6 chains from there and keep going with the regular C2Cs. I don't do mine that way. I always do something different. Years ago, I found a lady who was doing it with only 2 chains or only 5 chains instead of 6, and then only 2 chains when you start each block. It just pops the little blocks out a little bit more when you don't have as much leeway there. So I like that version, but it was a little bit more trying getting that to work with my way. So next time I think I'll try traditional C2C. I did use a 7 millimeter hook on that, and eventually I got it to work fine. This was not any kind of a priority or anything. This was just fun. As you know, this was a no-buy year for me for yarn intentionally. So I only got yarn for a little birthday fun in August, and instead of, you know, looking for clearance yarn or anything like that, because I'm not building my stash, I wanted to try things I didn't have in my stash. So I got one of these. I got one of a Flower Power. One day I'll use it. I haven't even touched it yet. And I got one of the Granny Square Petite. I wasn't successful in finding the Grande yet, but one day I'm going to use the all-in-one Granny Square in regular, petite, and grande to make myself a new Afghan for my couch. So I have them all in the tones of the grays and creams and whites and blacks. So that one day when I need a new blanket, I can take my existing skeins I already had of the regular Granny Square yarn and those two and make some kind of a design. out of that. And so this one, I didn't care what color I got, and I like the color a lot. It's fun. And I've been seeing how when you make the blocks with this one, you can make different patterns by joining them. So that's kind of cool as well. So yeah, I had a little bit of fun with that. And I think we've already discussed what's going to happen for the month of October. So I think that's going to bring this one to a close. It's been nice catching up with you all. It was a busy September. I hope you're all doing well. Our weather is still anywhere between fall and summer here, depending on the day of the week. And it looks like there's more of that to come. I'm probably going to get a chance to get some pictures of fall colors in the middle of October, so I'll throw that in the next video as well. I hope you guys will continue to connect with me in the comments so I can hear what you've been up to. Love to have that interaction. That's what we're here for. Keep this social and social media. Have a great day and happy crochet, everyone. Bye.